Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast, live this time again. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Chad Big Bad Johnson, Danny Hernandez, and the always exuberant James Casanti. Going over this week's edition of AEW Dynamite, James even brought in the double hand wave just to show how excited he was. We're going to start at the top of the show tonight. CM Punk brings back Straight Edge Society intro with his cross-legged sitting in a good but nothing new promo until he reached his inevitable conclusion to where he finally announced the who, what, where, when, why, and how of his upcoming match with MJF, and he announced that it will be AEW's second ever dog collar match, which I am excited for, and that will take place at Revolution. MJF then came out, was speechless for, I think, only the second time ever in his life, and then left. I'm excited for this match. I really liked Punk's AF1s, but James, I have to imagine that you're also very excited for this match.
I am super excited, and not just because, who doesn't love a violent, destructive match, but because there's a lot of history with CM Punk in a dog collar match setup. For those of you who don't know, Punk really started to rise to prominence on the indies. I believe it was Ring of Honor in his dog collar match with Raven. It was a bloody, terrifying, star-making performance for the young Punk. And now to almost go full circle and be the old man taking on the young buck MJF. It's really cool and it's exciting. And they mentioned it on TV. AEW's only had one dog collar match in its history so far, which is a lot for a young company still. But it was with Mr. Brody Lee and I guess future WWE superstar Cody Rhodes. And, that match being Brody Lee's last match, it was an amazing match. It was a great hard-hitting match between the two, and the bar is pretty high for Punk and MJF here.
Yeah, but I do think if anybody were to reach that bar, perhaps even surpass it, it's going to be MJF. And obviously Punk is still, the best in the world, and he can still perform at a very high level. But MJF has just been on a whole nother level, both in the ring and on the mic for the last few months, if not the last year or so. Danny, I know you've been very high on all of this. So I think they're going to at least reach that bar. Dan, you're on mute, by the way. So I'm just not going to go to you now. I'm going to go to Chad instead. No, you lost your speaking privileges because you were on mute. So Chad,
I appreciate, he was definitely doing it to be good to all of us. He didn't want the background noise, and I appreciate that, Danny. You shouldn't be punished for it. Nick is a Nick-tator right now.
A Nick-tator.
Nice. I like that.
I will accept that, and I'm still going to Chad.
I'm excited, man. I can't really put into words. Everybody knows I'm the resident Punk stan. I can't wait. The promo was cool. I'm liking the feud. MJF has been on fire, as you said. I've never seen the CM Punk and Raven dog collar match, which I have to research for this weekend now. Thanks, James, with your knowledge. But yeah, I'm psyched.
What about Raven? No, all right, Danny, you can have your speaking privileges back.
Sure.
You shouldn't have speaking privileges after that. What about Raven?
Anyway, this is gonna be sick. Great call going to James first because he provided that history and that backstory with CM Punk and dog collars. So that was a great call, Rev. Before you made a bad call right after, but that's okay.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the opening of the show. Except the crowd was kind of annoying. I kept hearing one or two people always try to interrupt Punk. There's that one guy that kept trying to get you suck in when everyone was quiet. But other than that, great promo. And I think it's a great way to mix up the the match so that it's not just another straight up singles match between them. I think this is the right call out in a stipulation like this.
To go to our comment in the live chat from Eric Grisanti, I don't know who that is. He says he thinks Punk gets the win, but it'll only be because Wardlow screws him. And I think to Danny's point, that's something, it's better than having just a regular one-on-one match, because a dog collar match can really add to the outside atmosphere. You could have these guys get involved and not feel like, why isn't somebody getting DQ'd?
Right.
Yeah. And then also, I think it depends on whether the ladder match is before or after the dog collar match.
True.
Very true.
Yeah. I mean, and also too, like, for either guy, it protects them very well should they lose. I think now this does open the possibility for Punk winning, because I think last week most of us were of the agreement that Punk didn't need this win back. But now it being a dog collar match, I think it does open the door a bit more, and I would be a little bit less upset should he win. But we got a lot of other things to talk about here, so let's move on. Next segment coming up was Brian Danielson. I always do it. Brian Danielson against a very, very game Lee Moriarty. I was pleasantly surprised by this match. I know Brian had called him out as one of the people he would possibly want to build the stable with Moxley with, but I was not expecting this kid to look not only this good, but they're strong against Brian. So that was pleasantly surprising for me, at least. We can talk about the match in a second, but we could also want to talk about that Moxley came out after the match once Brian called him out to give him an answer. Moxley stated that he couldn't think of a good reason to say no, except for the fact that he was curious to know if Brian only wanted to team up with him because Brian was afraid of facing him. So Moxley then mentioned that he only teams with people he's bled with, and then left it ambiguous whether or not he would be joining Brian. So Danny, I will start with you here this time to make up for my past transgressions. But what did you think of first the match and then Moxley's response to Brian?
You're muted again, buddy.
All right, Danny has been having some technical difficulties because he got a new mic, and we're live, baby. So James, I'll start with you since I'll start with you now. I mean, since I know you also like this match very much.
I mean, I can't live up to Danny, but I'll do my best. Oh, there he is. You sound like you're underwater, like really far below underwater. But
2,000 leagues under the sea.
Like Sonic.
It's 20,000, but whatever.
In that one game.
To the point of the match, I love me a good old-fashioned technical bout. And that's what we got here. We had these two guys in holds punching each other. We had them going hold for hold. We had them countering each other. We had them switching from one hold to another hold. It was fantastic. It was something we knew Brian was capable of. It's his bread and butter. But we haven't really seen anything really from Lee Moriarty to make us think that he was on this level yet. And I was very impressed by Moriarty. I'm hoping that Brian was, like in kayfabe, Brian was impressed by him. If Brian does have this future stable that may or may not exist. And I want to see more from Moriarty now, which is, I think, the biggest win of the match. Moriarty has a higher stock in my eyes, and I want to see the momentum continue. As for the promo, I loved it. There's truth in it. The Shield didn't exist in NXT, but there were certainly, like, we know about the three-way match that happened in NXT between Moxley, Rollins, and Roman, and it was good. And Mox didn't really start teaming with Eddie Kingston until after their wars were over. So I believe it. He doesn't want to team with Brian until he knows that he can feel Brian can hang. So I do like that. And I think them having a match really adds an extra wrinkle to it, because we all just sort of thought that the match would happen as a result of them, of Moxley saying no to Bryan, or at least that's what I thought. But in this instance, let's say they have this match and Mox wins and he's like, you know what? I still want to team with you. Maybe Bryan doesn't want to team with him now because his ego is bruised by Moxley beating him.
That's a good idea. I haven't thought of that.
I think there's just so much you could do with this. And thank you, Chad. And I for something that I wasn't as into as everybody else was, I know I was sort of like the straggler just because I really want this Bryan Punk dynamic instead. I now think a lot more avenues have been opened up, and I think we have a lot more interesting options ahead of us.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note too that Bryan did come out of the heel tunnel, if I'm not mistaken.
Finally.
Yeah, which they had teased him going down the heel tunnel on Dynamite last week. So I guess then should Moxley team up with Bryan, he would be in effect turning heel, which I think is an interesting thing to look at as well. And you could definitely see, I mean, Bryan's been basically running as a heel for a while, despite the fact coming out of the face tunnel. And now he's definitely doing it because he did not have to, stop Moriarty after hitting the knee. It was completely unnecessary to win that. So, and then I think he locked in a triangle or something to win.
He locked in the triangle and then he flexed while he was passed out.
Right, which was completely unnecessary. So we finally have full-blown heel Danielson, Chad. And so I'm wondering what you think is going to happen now with him and Moxley.
I think you were going to call him the wrong name again. However, I'm going to cut you some slack.
I'm never, ever going to be fully confident saying his name. It's never going to happen.
That's fair.
For me, that was easily the best match of the night. I may be in the minority. I don't understand how anyone could not love seeing Bryan go. Like, really just go with anybody. Moriarty looks strong. He looks promising. You can see the potential oozing. Moxley with the with the ill ass promo. What a way to say use a bitch. Like I beat you, but you're afraid. That shit was great. I definitely see the team coming together. I know against James' better judgment, he wasn't fond of it at first, but I see it. I like it. I love it. I'm waiting for it. I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this last week. I can definitely see it happening in more of a short-term thing than a long-term thing, but
I agree.
But then at the same time, like now this kind of flips my entire thinking because were they going to have a match and then team together and then short term and then not team? Like it just seems like it would seem like an odd dynamic for that to happen. Danny, are you back with us? Nope.
Bueller.
I'll speak for Danny because I think I know what he would want me to say, which is that he agrees with me. I'm right. And that Bryan is the best in the world and teaming with Moxley would almost feel like slumming it a little bit.
That sounds actually kind of like Danny.
Well,
I see the hatred in his eyes right now.
Dan's gonna have to start learning sign language to get through to us here for a second.
Maybe I mean I don't want to derail us because this is a fun conversation, but maybe Danny should leave and join us again. Would that help him? Maybe.
Perhaps Danny, if you would like to. Danny agrees to that via the chat. So, all right, Danny will be back in a second. But so while we were waiting for him, I would like to go into the chat for a second because Eric appears to not want Lee Moriarty with this possible team up of Moxley and Bryan. And I know he's young and still a little raw, but I think after this match, I disagree. He obviously acquitted himself very, very well. And James, you were discussing the chain wrestling that they were having, and which I thought was spectacular. The
Absolutely.
crowd, it was that got this crowd so into this match.
Literally.
I mean, there was that spot where I think they were both tied up in the legs and then all, like bouncing on their heads and slapping the shit out of each other. Like this kid looks good, and
I think there's also
I like his presentation too.
I'm sorry, Nick. I
No,
also
it's cool.
think there's something to the fact that Brian beat him and, he did his normal thing, but Brian was the one who initially wanted him in, and Moriarty stepped up to him. That impressed Brian. So maybe it doesn't matter that Moriarty lost. Maybe Brian wasn't looking for him to beat him. He just wanted to see that he could go toe to toe with him, which is, I think, an interesting dynamic to move forward with, because the idea is Brian isn't looking for an equal in this group that isn't Moxley. He's looking for people to lead. He's looking for followers. And Moriarty would definitely fit that bill. Don't you agree, Danny? I think he agrees.
Yeah.
No.
Silence of the Lambs over there.
I also, too, I think it shows Brian attempting to put a possible future member in his place, because he doesn't, he wants, like you said, James, he doesn't want an equal, and having Moriarty step to him and then beating him, or even getting what he considers to be close to beating him, would be bad for business for Brian. So alliteration aside, I think that it's still a very good possibility that if this group were to form, Moriarty could join, I would like it. All right, so let's move on here. Hopefully we get Danny back and he figures his stuff out, but we're gonna keep rolling. Oh, no, he's back.
Whoa.
Don't touch anything. Hands off the keyboard.
Hands where I can see him, young stud.
All right. So you can hear me.
Yes, you're back.
Cool. All right, cool.
Do you have any quick comments on the Moxley Bryan situation?
I agree with most of what James said.
Oh.
I think, well, it would be better if it was a Punk, but Moxley was fantastic. Bryan was great. I'm be honest, I really didn't want to care about the Lee Moriarty match at all, and I didn't for like the first half of it, but goddamn, it got real good. And this was one time where the crowd was great, and they made me care about it more than I actually did because they were so into it. And yeah, it was great finish, great promo by Moxley to the point of him. He didn't say no, but him saying no doesn't seem as bad now as it did 2 weeks ago. So good stuff.
All right. And Eric, I agree. Moriarty does need to be built up more as a character, but him getting over in the ring is a good first step. And should this group form, then that could help his character building as well. But like I said, we do have to move on. We got a lot to get to here. Real quick, Wardlow face Max Caster for a spot in the Face of the Revolution match. I wanted to mention this strictly for two things. One, Shivani called a bar in Caster's rap a stanza. And two, Wardlow's Powerbomb Symphony is over as fuck.
Yeah, literally.
It really is. So I know, James, you mentioned every week it feels like when Drew McIntyre came back and started counting down the Claymore. It's literally that over. Like everyone's just waiting, anticipating for that to happen, and then it does, and everyone just wants more and more and more.
Oh, big time. I think Wardlow is just ready to erupt. He's got the fans behind him. He's got a fun hook into his matches right now with the power bombs, and not the hook. There's only one hook, but he's got a fun little draw right now, and it's hiding the fact that as great as he's been and as over as he is, the reality is he is still somewhat green. But it doesn't matter when he's got this with this gimmick right now with the power bombs. And beyond the fact that he's now in the Face of the Revolution ladder match, which thank God, another meaty man to slap meat with Keith Lee.
I'm hyped about that.
I am so hyped for it. But beyond that, I know that the match itself was what it was. We knew it was going to be a squash. It was a squash. That was cool. They furthered the story. After he defeated Caster and Bowens got involved, guess who didn't get involved? Shawn Spears. And Spears didn't start, relieving himself and, getting off with the chair until after Wardlow dropped them both. So subtle, small character moments, subtle, small story moments that are pushing the story along as the main MJF story is being pushed with Punk right now. So great stuff all around.
I almost see Wardlow turning on Spears before MJF. Like one of these things happens where like he doesn't help Spears doesn't help Wardlow after he gets jumped or something, and then he just beats the shit out of Spears, and then MJF has to give him a talking to, and then that sets up him turning on MJF.
A part of me, I could see that, but I also think the possibility of him going after MJF and Spears being the only guy sort of in between them, and he just destroys Spears while MJF runs away, which feels, basic, but it's also going to get a big pop because of how much people have been just waiting for Spears to just get wrecked.
Yeah. Either way, he's going to get his ass handed to him.
Oh, definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
Danny, you got anything real quick on this? I know not a lot went on, but I know you love the Acclaimed.
Yeah, it's bullshit that Caster's not going to be in this match. Last year, Revolution is where he really took off, and he had like his best rap to date at that pay-per-view, and now he doesn't get to wrestle at it. It's bullshit. But good for Wardlow, though. Everything you guys said was true and good points, but
Friendly reminder, if you don't love the Acclaimed, you're a cop. Chad, you do love the Acclaimed, so you're not a cop, and I know you're a Wardlow guy too.
Yeah, I am actually. I hate to compare and contrast, and I also hate to shit on other wrestlers, but Wardlow really gives me what Ryback should have been.
Damn, yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it. I don't hate Ryback, but I don't love him. But this is definitely, as James said, you can tell he's a little green still, but just the subtle character development is everything that should have happened for Ryback. And I'm excited for Wardlow. The turn is going to be amazing.
Yeah, we keep comparing him to Batista because the plot line is similar to when he turned on Triple H, but
right.
Ryback is an interesting comp there, and I don't hate it. It's just something I hadn't thought about before. But I do
saw
like
it tonight.
Yeah, I do like it. All right, let's keep it rolling here. We had the Hangman Adam Page and Adam Cole Bebe promo. Finally felt like the title was becoming a big deal again after seeming a bit of a lull in Hangman's reign for the last few weeks with the whole Lance Archer thing, which is good because we needed this back. So both Cole and Hangman really went after each other in a good way. It was funny. Cole had this dynamic where he was sometimes like barbing Hangman, but then other times he was trying to be his friend. Hangman just went for the jugular a couple of times. It eventually all culminated in a handshake, Adam Cole walking away, and then Red Dragon jumping Hangman from behind, Cole then joining back in, and the Dark Order eventually coming out and rescuing Hangman after security wasn't able to do so. And then 10 beat the shit out of a bunch of security guards. I don't know why, but it was awesome. So I'll start with you here, Chad. What'd you think about this promo? We had the Dark Orders back, finally. I'm happy for that. And what do you think is going to happen in terms of the feud now between Page and Cole?
Number one, I feel the exact same as you, brother. Anytime I see Dark Order on my television, I instantly get excited. I've missed them for quite a while. Yeah. Oh man, I was literally sitting here proud. Everyone knows I'm a big Hangman guy, and the way you guys feel about Brian, I kind of feel about Cole. I can't boo him, and for some reason he can almost do no wrong for me. But just watching Hangman cook that boy, oh my god, it was amazing. I loved it. That like it sat with me to the point where I was like, shit, that's my champion. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was feeling it. I was feeling it for sure. The after effects was kind of mediocre until I saw the Dark Order, and that got me excited again. But what are you gonna do? I mean, whatever.
I thought this promo was very well structured now that I think about it, and that Cole was attacking things about Hangman that Hangman already knew about himself and he was taking ownership for it. Like Cole did mention that he hadn't seen the Dark Order in a while and that Hangman was bad at friendships. But Hangman was like, I know that. I'm not perfect. I accept responsibility for that. Whereas Hangman was going after Cole for things that Cole either hadn't taken responsibility for yet or couldn't control, like not being around when AEW started or being shitty in his own relationships in the past, especially with guys like the Bucks, just like Hangman had relationship problems with them. So I thought Danny was a very well-structured promo.
Oh yeah, promo-wise, this was great. This was the best Hangman has seemed as champion, I think, by far. I was a big fan of that. I thought I got to disagree a little bit about the aftermath, not with Chad, but with you, Rev. I thought 10 beating up security guards was so lame. I thought he looked so bad because there was too many people in the ring. So every move he hit looked really weak because he had no room to set up for them. And I didn't understand why that happened.
I just like security guards getting the shit kicked out of them, to be honest with you. I think it's funny as hell.
I don't think it made sense for the security guards to be out there. I don't think it warranted it. I think it's odd that they pick and choose when they come out. Why didn't they come out later when Britt, Jamie, and Rebel were beating up Thunder Rosa? I don't think I think it looks weird that security came out before the Dark Order did. And I didn't like any of that, honestly. That was really
well, Danny, we know why they didn't come out during the Britt Baker thing. It's because 10 knocked the crap out of them and they were being taken to a local medical facility with no name.
Well, you've debunked my criticism. Great.
Gotta keep it kayfabe.
I guess I like it now.
I don't know. I like seeing them get the shit kicked out of them. And I guess apparently Cole is facing 10 in the next week or so. On Rampage. On Rampage.
Which is why they had 10 doing the security guard spot. It's because he needed something to set him apart from the rest of the Dark Order so he could look somewhat impressive before the match against Cole.
Yeah, it did seem random at the beginning. But like I said, I just like seeing security guards just get tossed around like rag dolls, which is also fun.
I like it in theory. I like it in Austin theory, but it's one of those things that I do agree with Danny. There was a weird, there was almost a lag between what 10 was doing and the destruction that was supposed to be showcased. Clothesline,
it was a little foolish.
Right? It was. Clothesline, pause. Toss, pause. Clothesline. It was clunky. It was clunky.
Right.
So
that's a good word for
it. In theory, I loved it. In execution, not so much. And I don't know if you're gonna send it to me, but I have thoughts on the promo.
No, I was going to. I was just going to say that obviously 10 is on drugs, and that's probably why he did it. So there you go. But I was just going to comment, James, before I went to you on the promo, that I did like the setup of Adam Cole mentioning that the Dark Order hadn't been around for a while, and then them eventually coming out, because that was smartly played, because Hangman accepted responsibility, like I said, that he hadn't seen them in a bit, and then they were like, okay, he's still our boy, he's just fucking up again, so we still got his back.
It's a great piece of continuity too, because it showcases what the Dark Order said from the beginning. We're your friend, Adam. We don't need you. You're not obligated to us. We're just friends. If you need us, we'll be there. Danny's cat agrees, because that tail shot up when I said it. And if this was pre-Dark Order and this was him dealing with the Elite, they would have made him feel bad about not being around for the last few months, even though he had to handle his own business. So I think this just furthers that bond that they built in the Elite feud from the get-go. I loved it. I want more Dark Order in general. I love that Stu Grayson wasn't there, because maybe they want to plant the seeds that maybe he's upset and he's got to get over it. Anything to give the Dark Order guys something, but maybe I'm just reaching. Beyond that. Oh, go ahead, Danny.
I like that there's some James fans in the chat right now.
I'm what can I say? I've got a little bit of a following. But
you were on TV, so
I was on TV. But I love the promo. I love the back and forth between the two. As a Ring of Honor guy, I remember when they were rising through the ranks of Ring of Honor, and Adam Cole definitely reached higher heights in Ring of Honor. He became Ring of Honor champion. He became Ring of Honor champion twice. Hell, he became Ring of Honor champion 3 times, something that, if I'm not mistaken, no other Ring of Honor wrestler has ever done. Hangman was sort of the young boy in Ring of Honor. He was the guy who needed to prove himself in Ring of Honor. By the time Cole was leaving the Bullet Club in New Japan, that's when Hangman was starting to even get noticed in Bullet Club. It felt like they were always in the same river, but like Cole's boat was just a little further down. And Hangman spoke a lot of truth. Adam Cole missed the beginning of AEW, and it's because of the choices he made. He went to NXT instead, and that was a great move on his part. His stock rose in NXT, but who knows where he could have been in AEW if he was there from the beginning. That was the choice that Hangman made. He was offered an NXT contract once upon a time, but he chose to go with AEW instead. So I'm loving this dynamic. I love that these two young guys with a history, and that's a big thing. They don't have much history in AEW, but there is history there prior to AEW. And with this one promo, you have so much more backstory on these two guys and why you should be invested in this match. And more than anything, I just want to know why Adam Cole's hands were so fucking tan. Like, what the hell was that? That's enough for me to feud with him. But I'm all for it. To speak on what we mentioned before, Hangman feels like a champ again. And I think that speaks to the level of opponent. Nothing against Lance Archer. He was a good middle of the ground feud.
Everything against Lance Archer. Continue.
First of all, rude. That was just rude.
Apologies.
Second of all, there's a reason Archer was a Dynamite feud, and Cole is going to be most likely facing Hangman at Revolution. So I'm happy to see Hangman at the top of the card once again, in my opinion.
Someone said they are kind of hoping that Adam Cole wins it.
But hey, don't gloss over that person's first.
No, we could gloss over it. In
regards to me saying James is on TV, Dragoon of the West said, "He's my favorite MTV superstar." And that'd be you. That's a reference to you being on Maine, James. You couldn't.
Yes, that it was.
Season 3.
Took over Johnny Banana's spot.
Hey, Dragoon of the West. This is why the East is better.
Oof.
You're going to do that to one of your 2 fans?
The dozens and dozens of James fans, yeah.
I can't wait until you rap, my boy. I cannot wait. It's coming. I can't wait.
God.
All right.
Anyway,
let's keep it rolling. Next up, we had the implosion of the Inner Circle match. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager against Proud and Powerful. The first thing I noticed with all 4 of these guys, originally I noticed with Ortiz, and then I kept looking. These guys are in amazing shape compared to where they were a little while ago. Jericho slimmed down. Hager's been training for Bellator a lot, so he looks great. Santana put on some muscle. Ortiz is slimmed down. They all look amazing. So shouts to all those guys. But Eddie Kingston made his return, so a very nice pop. He was in the corner of Santana Ortiz, which is cool. This match had some really good stuff. Jericho kicked out of the street sweeper, excuse me, which I thought was cool. He also had a really nice counter into the walls of Jericho.
Yeah.
But eventually Jericho gets too caught up in Eddie Kingston being there, attacks him, gets distracted for a minute, and ends up getting pinned. And then afterwards, Jericho went after Kingston, who didn't punch him back, which was an interesting wrinkle to all of that. I am very interested in this entire storyline. I'm still holding out hope that they still sort of make up and then perhaps go their separate ways, because I just like the Inner Circle still kind of being a thing that's there, sort of, even if they sort of split up, for lack of a better phrase. But Danny, I love this match. I love Proud and Powerful. What about you?
I mean, I love Proud and Powerful. The match was fine. I didn't care much. I don't know. The internet. This is one where the internet actually has warped my opinion. Because I kept watching the internet start shitting on Jericho and saying that he just leeches on to popular acts, so he seems like he's still relevant and over. And I can't help but notice it now. And like this feud with Eddie Kingston, it's like Eddie just needs to win and move on to something better. But it's a Jericho feud, so it's gonna probably last till like fucking April. So I don't know. Like I'm excited Eddie is back, because the sooner he's back and going, the sooner this can be done. Because I'd really much rather Eddie get involved with whatever Moxley and Bryan are doing, because
Likewise.
I'm more interested. But there's Cody, like what other people call it, the Cody Island, or like the Cody Zone.
The Codyverse. The Codyverse.
You get sucked into the Codyverse and you're just there for X amount of time, and then when you're done with Cody, you go back to AEW essentially. And I feel like the same thing with Jericho. Like when you're feuding with Jericho, it's like you're in a warp zone, and
Apparently, if you're aligned with Jericho, according to Proud and Powerful.
Yeah. So I want them. I want them all out of it. Hey, maybe Kingston and Proud and Powerful face Moxley, Bryan, and whoever the third is.
Punk.
Oh my god.
God bless you.
That would be amazing. That'd be the fun.
All right, guys. Sorry.
I don't, it's weird because I know Dragoon over here is saying that Kingston's the slept-on MVP of the feud, but I almost feel like he's been more of a side character. Like he's the antithesis of all of this, of Proud and Powerful, like standing up to Jericho, I guess the catalyst, not the antithesis, but he's the catalyst of all of this. But like he's been there, but like this is more about the inner circle for me, Chad.
Yeah. Okay. I literally take the same exact stance as Danny, only in African American.
Oh my god.
What Danny said, but in black. I literally I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it.
Do they have that on Google Translate?
Can you say what I said, but in African American?
I joke, I kid. But no, really. I agree with Danny. I feel the exact same. I'm kind of over it. It was literally a bathroom break for me. I do love Pride and Powerful as well, though, but I'm not really as interested as you, Rev. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, I mean that's fair. I think it's because of more of my interest of Santana or Ortiz, because I think you're right about Jericho. Like when you get sucked in this little world there, you're stuck there for a while. It happened to MJF. Like I think would be the most obvious example. That went on too long, as I think we would all agree. It was 4 matches, maybe even 5. Like it was a lot.
I think it was 5.
Yeah, maybe even 5. Plus the whole like Trials of Jericho thing.
Yeah, it was
that went from like pay-per-view to pay-per-view. Like it was a long time.
Long-winded and ridiculous. And I want better for Eddie.
Yeah.
One thing we do need to acknowledge with Eddie, though, is that the reason he's been on the sideline so much was that he was injured.
Yeah.
He had a broken orbital bone, and that's not even the type of injury you could have him on TV participating in any way. His face was broken. So I do get it. And, now that he's back, I'm glad that he's back. Obviously, more Eddie Kingston is always good. And to go off of what you said, Rev, about him not punching Jericho, I think that was just sort of like an error, because he was trying to highlight that he had the chain in his hand. So he wanted to make it known that he had this weapon that he was going to hit Jericho with. And then by the time it was going to happen, the refs had already separated them. So it was more about making that chain look intimidating.
Yeah. I saw that, like, I think they were his rosary beads, but like, I was like, is he not hitting him because he had that on his hand? Or is it the refs and he's just missing? But the fact that Excalibur like explicitly pointed it out made it seem a little more important to me.
Yeah.
Him just like not getting something done properly.
I as loud as Eddie is, I do think there's a lot of subtlety in the things that he does on TV. So we'll see. I'm very in for it. I'm with you. I think the feud is interesting. I'm into it. I thought the match actually did deliver more than I think Danny and Chad enjoyed it. Like, I'm not saying you guys are wrong for not enjoying it, but like, I love that Lion Tamer spot. I thought it was really cool.
Oh no, the match was fine. It just
yeah, I had its moments. I was first excited for this feud because I was like, cool, Eddie can win a fucking feud because he hasn't won many of them. So I was like, that's good. But then I started to worry that it would turn into another Jericho thing. But also with Eddie, I watched his interview with Wrestle Talk, and he's a big fan of wrestling YouTube channels and wrestling podcasts. So like, let's get to 100 subscribers so that James can do this rap so that we can get on Eddie Kingston's radar so he'll become a fan of ours.
I agree.
boom.
I agree. He could be the 101st.
Exactly.
Ha.
He could be the 101st. All right.
Okay, let's continue to move on here. We got a couple more things before we wrap up. The next thing that happened, we had Thunder Rosa versus Mercedes Martinez in a no DQ match. This was set up by, I believe, their match on Rampage, which Mercedes Martinez got DQ'd, which is very rare in AEW. And if I heard Excalibur correctly, was the first DQ in the women's division. I think he actually said in AEW, but that's clearly wrong. There was one like 2 weeks ago with Punk, but and the other one obviously being in the great Peter Avalon versus Brandon Cutler feud. At least the ones off the top of my head. But Mercedes Martinez
and the
hit
Puck and Omega 203 Falls.
right.
Yeah.
So I digress. Martinez hit Rosa with a pipe, which caused a DQ, and now led to this no DQ match, which I feel like wasn't bad, but it suffered because of the commercial break in the middle. Like it was PIP, and I feel like a lot of the cooler shit happened during that.
It really did. It really did. There were some big spots in that commercial break.
Yeah, I had walked away to like go grab something to eat and grab a drink, and I came back and I was like, holy shit, like there's all this broken stuff around the ring. I missed all of it. And then nothing else happened afterwards, which was not nothing, but like the less cool stuff happened afterwards, which was disappointing. Afterwards, for some reason, there was a Cobra Kai crossover, and Britt went to talk to Kreese from Cobra Kai. Good Lord, I cannot say that today. He gave her the, no mercy finisher thing. And they went in and kicked the shit out of Thunder Rosa and seemingly gave Mercedes the opportunity to do so as well. But then they kicked the shit out of her too. And Britt Baker stood tall. So I know, James, you already commented that the commercial kind of killed this match. So I'll go to Danny next. I know you didn't really like this in general.
Did I? No, it was fine.
You seemed down on it.
The suplex spot on the table, that looked brutal.
Ooh, that was bad. That table did not break right.
Yeah, but it at least broke in a way that, kind of made it look crazier than if it had broke cleanly. So, I'll take that. The crowd loves Thunder Rosa. It's crazy how she is still just as over as she was a year ago when she's been on TV maybe like 7 times since that feud, so that's good. And the fact that we're finally getting Britt Thunder makes all of this mediocre to good to okay stuff like worth it, because the end game will be worth it. I don't care about the Cobra Kai crossover. I really didn't know who that was when he showed up backstage. But as someone who was called Danielson a lot, and it didn't resonate with me. I didn't pop for that, but it was fine. I don't care about Mercedes Martinez. I think that's the bigger issue. Is that I think James, this is top 3 most beautiful things James has ever said, and it's that Mercedes Martinez is a less bad Tamina, and yeah, that's the perfect way of putting it. She's definitely better than Tamina, but like,
not that much better.
Yeah, they serve a similar role.
Yeah, I'd say she's way better, but the role is similar, so it doesn't matter how much better she is.
Yeah.
Chad, your thoughts?
Again, copy and paste. I mean, the match was fine. Besides that one spot that you guys were talking about, I was uninterested in the feud until afterwards when I saw that, it was directly going to affect Britt and Thunder Rosa. After that, then I was like, okay, I'm here for it. I'm with it. I love Thunder Rosa, as everyone should. Whoever doesn't, make sure you comment below so I can berate you.
I wanted to mention the spider German suplex off the top rope that Mercedes
that was
dealt
good.
was also pretty nasty.
Yeah.
And Thunder Rosa had the Kill Bill gear on, which I thought was dope.
I did like that. I did like that aspect.
Yep. After that, we had a real quick House of Black tease. It appears a new member is joining, but there isn't too much news on that, so we'll just keep it rolling to the main event. Sammy Guevara against Darby Allin for the TNT championships, because for some reason Sammy's still carrying both titles. Even JR doesn't know why. This was cool. Anytime Darby and Sammy get together, it ends up being a really good match. The end of it kind of soiled it for me. Although before I get to the end of it, I do want to shout out that cutter counter on the Tope Suicida on the outside, because that was awesome.
Randy who?
Oh Lord.
Anyway, the match ended when Jose from the Andrade Hardy family office came out and he hit Darby with excuse me. Yeah, he drew out Sting. He did come out. He drew away Sting. Andrade, thank you. This is why I have notes.
What an unimportant detail to correct him on, James. Like,
It is.
He was right. He was right.
But it's not important.
Jose didn't.
The more important man came out.
Who was the more important man?
El Idolo.
Yeah, okay. More important.
Yeah.
Okay. So Andrade hits Darby as he's setting up for the coffin drop with an iPad. This eventually leads to Sammy coming to, picking up the win. Afterwards, Matt Hardy just runs down into the ring and starts beating up Darby. Sammy gets in the ring to help him, and then Andrade hits Sammy with the iPad. They're getting the shit kicked out of him, and then eventually Sting jumps in with the baseball bat to break it all up. And Andrade walks away with Hardy and both belts. So despite this being a fun match and a good match, James, the end soiled it for me a bit, just with all the interference, because whenever these two guys get together, they put on a really good match, and just having it end like this is kind of a downer, even though we're getting storyline out of it.
Yeah.
James, I hate to interrupt you right off the bat, but I just want to shout out my favorite comment in the chat right now, which is Mercedes will hopefully join Cody after tonight.
Jesus.
Anyway,
it wouldn't even be the first time she went back to WWE, but
I don't want her
from
there
AEW.
either.
I'm happy she's working. That's all I'll say. I don't care where it is. I just don't care. But to the segment at hand, I agree. It was definitely messy. It was a little convoluted, but I think we all had a feeling going into it would be convoluted because of the Andrade of it all. I do finally think I have a reason why there are two TNT belts. I want to believe it's because they're already going to lead to the split between the Hardy family office and Andrade. That Matt's probably going to grab one belt and Andrade is going to grab the other. But even that just feels so messy for no reason. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get a triple threat at Revolution between Andrade, Darby, and Sammy. I don't want that because the TNT title should just be involved in something else, I think. But yeah, I'm a little disappointed that there was almost no follow-up to Matt leaving Private Party last week. And they tweeted about it a bunch too. So I thought there would be some story follow-up, but it's not that important. But with I know I am the minority of the group in terms of Andrade love, but
I'm with you. I like him. I just think
No,
he's
I
just
think
not
it's
doing anything right now, and he's a little boring. But I like him.
that's why I think him being injected into the TNT title scene is a good thing. Like, I know people don't want him in the world title scene, which, whatever. But him being a TNT champion is good. A heel TNT champion sometimes, especially when you have a babyface world champion, it's a nice contrast. So I wouldn't mind Andrade winning the TNT title and then dropping it to somebody cool like Keith Lee or whoever. But yeah, good match, good spots, little messy ending, but at least it's building to something.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask you really quick, because we do have the Face of the Revolution match in a couple of weeks where Andrade to win the title and Keith Lee win that match. We're going to hotshot the title right off of Andrade.
yes.
It pains me to say it, but that's fine. Sometimes you do need those quick transitional titles to let you know that anything can happen. And we already didn't, we all really thought we were going to get that with Hangman and the world title. So maybe you just get that with Andrade and the TNT title. You could say Andrade's a former champion in AEW. Keith Lee, you capitalize on by taking out one of the biggest heels in the company. I don't know if that's true, but yeah. So it might not work out for Andrade, but everybody gets a little sliver of the pie.
That's fair. All right, Chad, I'm going to go to you next, because this way you don't have to just copy and paste everything Danny says. Did you like the match, and did you like the ending?
I liked the match. The ending sucked for me. It was silly, it was foolish, and it was dumb. It was very I think someone in the chat said it was like cluttery. That's the perfect word for that. It was just it was too much. And also not enough. Number one, Steve Jobs is rolling in his grave for the use of the iPad. That was terrible. It was garbage. Andrade is talented. I will never take that away from him. He's severely talented. But I don't buy in. I'm sorry, guys. I've tried multiple times.
Did you not like him in NXT?
I loved him in NXT. I think that might be the reason why this is such a letdown. It's like a huge letdown. I think he needs a heater. Chavo didn't work. Maybe a woman will work. I hope that doesn't sound sexist.
It worked in WWE. She just didn't follow him to AEW.
Right. I mean, maybe they find someone for him there. I don't mind the hot potato if they need to, but also, do we have Sammy lose so quickly after he just won back?
The TNT title reigns do tend to be shorter, So I mean, I get what you're saying, but it wouldn't be the first time somebody lost it so quickly. And assuming they do have this match at Revolution, that's, again, I don't think till the beginning of March. So it's at least another 2 weeks.
Yeah, I guess that's fine.
If my math is correct, maybe even 3.
I am with James, however, though. We straight to Keith Lee directly after.
Yeah. I do want to defend you a little bit in regards to something you said, that you haven't bought into Andrade, and they just haven't given you a lot to buy into. We know that great wrestler's there, and we know that the guy has a lot of charisma, but there just hasn't been a lot to buy into. They just haven't given him a whole lot to do to bring that stuff out of him.
I agree.
There was stuff with Cody, and he got sucked into the Cody verse, and so did Malachi Black, and they were just together for very thin reasons. The best reason we had was because they were kind of friends because of Zelina, and they can't mention that.
True.
I mean, they can. AEW never cares about referencing WWE.
That's true, but they didn't for whatever creative reason they decided to do so. So, I could see why you would not like Andrade if you've only seen him in AEW. I think me and James, and to some extent you, Chad, are holding out hope that he can get back to what he was in NXT.
I would hope so. I mean, if he could stop coming to the ring and hitting people with fucking iPad Nanos, then that would help.
I keep, this is being discussed in the chat and it's being discussed here. I can't say I've ever been hit with an iPad, but like it's definitely fallen on my face when I have like I'm laying down. That shit hurts. Am I the only one who think that would hurt?
In the words of
glass and metal.
In the words of the famous Mr. Chow, did you die?
Oh my gosh.
If you did not, I don't want to hear it.
Nah, that shit's gonna hurt. Like, especially if they're borderline breaking it over your head. It's gonna hurt to some extent. And also too, like, they've been hitting each other in the head for the last 15 minutes. You take a blow from a foreign object, it's gonna fucking hurt, and it's gonna daze you long enough to, you know, get put up on somebody's shoulders and get hit in the knee. So it makes sense.
Okay, guys.
Danny, I know you've been patiently waiting. Please, the floor is yours. You may discuss how Andrade, however you may choose.
Sure. I disagree with everything Jim said, first and foremost.
No copy and pasting from Danny.
Not everything, but you know, like most things. I think it's hilarious that you guys think that Andrade could win this title. Like it's pretty cute. That's adorable. I don't think it'll be a triple threat because the tag title match is going to be a triple threat. I don't think they're going to double down on triple threats.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I think this was just, they had Darby in this spot because he was a big name. And I actually disagree with Darby being in this match at all, as great as it was. Because I don't think Darby should be taking any more losses right now. But that's why I didn't like the ending, but I was totally okay with it because I did not want Sammy to win this match clean.
That's fair.
I think Darby needs to be protected, and Darby was the more over one in this match, so protecting him was the right call.
That crowd was very hot though, and eventually they were hot for both wrestlers, but Darby did get the early chance.
Yeah, and Darby got a superstar reaction like when he came out. I mean, it helps that Sting was there and they were in Nashville, so like, you know, that's the type of place that is definitely gonna pop hard for someone like Sting. But
that's old school with what's his name, territory.
You know, other than that, you know, I'm not gonna dunk on Andrade too much. I've said it before. I think this is the best version of Andrade where he doesn't understand the difference between you know, a partnership and a father-son business relationship. Like I love that he thinks that Sting is Darby's dad/boss. That's hilarious to me. I actually really enjoy that. So this is the perfect use for Andrade. Who might not even be in, I don't even think he's going to face Sammy at the pay-per-view. I think it's going to be Darby versus Andrade, and that's fine. That's a perfectly great pay-per-view match. And then Sammy can do whatever because it doesn't matter. He's going to lose the title to Keith Lee as he should. So I don't know. I feel like everything was totally fine. This main event, the cutter was amazing. You know, it was a nice tribute to Cody, who is dead now, I think. I don't know what happened to him, but you know, that was Sammy's way of, you know, giving him a little shout out. He did the Cody cutter, you know, that's obviously what people think when they see a cutter is Cody. So.
Well, actually, there was a point in that match where Sammy set up for what looked like the crossroads, and then Darby countered it and turned it into a figure four, which is something Cody had been using for a while. So I don't know if that was intentional or what, but it happened. Something was there about that.
Yeah, there was a lot, and I don't know. This is a match we're gonna get again in like 6 months probably. They'll always go back to this the same way they always go back to Jungle Boy MJF, like, and probably Darby MJF.
The four pillars, they're always going to be connected in some way.
Well, I don't see how Britt Baker ties into this conversation right now.
You know what? You're right. But you know what? I'm sorry. The 5 pillars. You could have more than 4 pillars. You don't. There's no number attached to being a pillar.
I'm no architect, but I feel like there might be. You know?
Are you telling me a building wouldn't be more secure with a 5th pillar?
If you put it in the middle, you'd have to put it in the middle. Otherwise, like one of the sides would be more secure than the other ones.
That would be in the way, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, off topic, as you were, Danny.
No, I've said I said a nice thing about Andrade, so I feel like I've covered everything I needed.
This is
to
good
cover.
deed of the day.
I'm proud of you, Danny.
He's in a great
Ooh.
spot for him right now. This is the perfect spot for Andrade. Get Dragoon and James, get out of here with your main event nonsense. Okay, this is the
Main
spot for him.
event.
It's not happening. There's too many people.
Andrade.
He was an NXT champion. He's on the same level as Adam Cole, baby.
Ooh, cool.
Not in terms of talent, but
Did you
If he ever
believe?
gets
Oh,
a-
okay.
If he ever gets a pop, you can add up every Andrade pop, and it does not add up to Adam Cole's pop when he debuted.
Because
It's
he
not
is
enough.
not Adam Cole.
baby.
At the moment, I don't think AEW Andrade is a main eventer. Could he become one? Absolutely. Like I said before, the man has the talent and the charisma to do so. But right now, I don't think he's there.
Okay, I'm gonna say something nice and/or it might be a backhanded compliment. It might be nice, depends on how you take it.
We like those.
He could totally be like Lance Archer in terms of being a main eventer. There you go. Take that for what you will, James and Dragoon.
So you would never put the title on him, I guess, Danny, ever.
Oh no, never. But he could challenge.
Probably not.
On a
Oh, you'd let him
Dynamite.
On
On a Dynamite, yeah.
You giving
Maybe-
Booker.
Rampage, if he's lucky, Dynamite.
Damn.
What's happening? It's so rude
Oh my god.
for no reason.
All right. I think I'm gonna have to end this before something bad really happens.
Yeah, that would
and then-
be
Wait,
that.
Dragoon
someone said-
unironically believes Andrade is better than Adam Cole.
Who is this person?
Oof. Uh-oh.
Hey, I'm proud of my fans. I'm grateful for my fans, but they don't always represent me.
They don't always represent me. He says.
They're not.
Huh.
I do not claim that belief. I don't want it associated with me. But
In what
In
what-
match?
in what field?
He probably in
Andrade
ring.
be
You
better.
can. I'm sure you can argue it. I think Adam Cole is just so much more likable overall. He has the overall package. Where if you want to argue, because I don't think Adam Cole is the best in ring, but he's really good.
Yeah.
So you can argue. There's plenty of people who can argue are better in ring than Adam Cole, and I won't think you're crazy for that. But if you think that he has more of a
Appeal?
comment, Dragoon, bring it on, man. Every week, if you want to start a beef, I'm here. I'll shit on your favorites. Who else do you like? Tell me. I'll start. Even if I like them, I'll start doing it.
oh man.
All right, this is definitely starting to get out of hand. So I'm definitely calling it. Besides, we reached the end of the episode of Dynamite anyway. I want to thank everybody for watching. As always, be sure to like and subscribe. As we've mentioned multiple times, if we get to 100 subscribers, James will rap for us. We will be back here next week again for another recap of AEW Dynamite. Our new episode of the podcast will be coming out within the next few days. We will be covering all of the Cody Rhodes stuff ad nauseum. So be sure to tune in. Thank you once again so much for watching, and we'll see you next time here on the Market Down